He's an internist, cardiologist, and medical commentator who gained popularity primarily through social media, where he offers medical advice to Filipinos free of charge. He left ABS-CBN's Salamat Doc program in 2018 to run for senator. He was banking on his strong online presence and support from overseas Filipino workers. And standing out in his white coat during the political sorties, Dr. Willie Ong finished 18th in the 2019 senatorial race with 7.6 million votes. Not bad for a political newbie. And now, the reluctant vice presidential candidate is asking you to trust him one more time.
Humingi ako ng paumanhin sa mga nagulat sa aking desisyon dahil sa pagkukumbinsi ng ating Mayor Yorme. Wala po talaga sa plano ito.
I'm Franco Luna, Puma Podcast. In this episode of Teka Teka, we look into how Willie Ong will carry out his duties should he win the vice presidency. As we mentioned, Isko Moreno's decision to run with a non-politician like Willie took most people by surprise, including his own political party. Here's Aksyon Demokratiko Chair Ernest Ramel.
When his name came about, it was something that a little of a surprise to me. But little by little, sabi nga ng iba mga kaibigan ko rin, genius choice. Kasi pandemya ngayon eh.
But the more politically incorrect question on people's minds was this. Why did a hugely popular mayor, who at the time was putting in a strong showing in pre-election polls, choose a nobody with political clout as his running mate? Here's what Willie Ong had to say.
Tapos sabi ni Isko Moreno, kukunin kita as Vice President. Naisip ko, mahirap ako manalo. But still, he said, basta siya manalo man ako or hindi, matutulungan ko yung milyon-milyong kababayan natin.
Sinabi sa akin ni Mayor Isko, sa ibang panahon, Doc Willie, hindi ikaw ang tamang kandidato. Pero sa panahon ngayon, na number one, ang problema natin, yung COVID-19, na nagpalubog talaga sa atin, na-solve natin ang COVID-19, maayos na lahat eh.
And so Ong dutifully campaigned on promises of leading the country out of the coronavirus pandemic with his experience and track record. Although he's a cardiologist, he had been dispensing advice on COVID-19 since the pandemic hit. Ong's YouTube channel has amassed more than 7 million followers. And despite the grueling campaign trail, he and his wife, also a doctor, upload videos nearly every day. The 58-year-old is a true social media star. He has a sizable following on Facebook and Instagram too. And why not? He comes across as very personable and approachable. The very traits Moreno himself tries to project. What does Ong have to say about criticism that he has no business being in politics?
Lahat naman po ng field na kailangan natin aralin, inaaral ko naman po. Ako po isang doktor, cardiologist, 18 years po ako nag-aral. Nagkataon lang talaga nilalaliman ko sa kalusugan. Ito kasi napakahalaga. Lalo na dito sa COVID response, di ba? Alam ko, hirap na yung mga kababayan natin sa lockdown, di alam anong gagawin.
This is part of the Bilis Kilos 10-point agenda that he and Moreno cooked up, which largely focuses on reviving the economy and prioritizing education and healthcare. Naturally, Ong is advocating for health system reform, which covers putting up infectious disease hospitals and giving out free medicine. He also wants a cancer center, upgraded regional hospitals, and more support for the National Center for Mental Health.
May malaking posibilidad aabot ulit yan sa Pilipinas. Hindi ko alam gaano kalala, kung kailan. Itong variant na to, ito yung BA2 variant na stealth Omicron. Ito yung mabilis kumalat. Marami tayong pwedeng gawin.
Papatayo tayo ng Cancer Center of the Philippines. Gawa tayo sa infectious disease hospital. Yung mga libreng gamot, libreng operasyon, libreng lab test na gusto natin magawa, mas magagawa ko siya. And I will send the message dito sa COVID and other issues to a wider audience. Yun naman ang pinakaano ko eh. Tapos kung saan man ako aabot, itiisin natin yung sakit, go lang tayo nag-go.
Actually, he wants everything. Better contact tracing, free testing, increased pay for healthcare workers, you name it. It's strategic messaging in the middle of a once-in-a-generation pandemic. According to a social weather station survey, nearly all Filipinos are in favor of subsidized medicine from the government. Each facet of his campaign is crafted to accentuate his background in medicine. Where other candidates focus on food security, for instance, Ong says, let's focus on food safety first. But like his running mate, he's done his best not to publicly criticize the administration of President Duterte, whose endorsement they're still hoping for. He's also tried to stay away from controversies, like Isko pocketing 50 million pesos in excess campaign donations in 2016. Here's a snippet of his answer to that question on The Chiefs on One News on March 11.
Sa akin, dapat open kung kanino kayo humingi ng pera. Let's say you get 1 billion. Sino nagbigay sa'yo ng 1 billion? 100 from this person. Para makita ko how you will decide. Di ba? Tapos kung sobra, di mag-usap kayo ng donor mo kung ibabalik mo or hindi. Di ba? Usapan nyo na ng donor niyo. Or if you want to donate it to charity or ibabalik mo or you will use it for your next campaign, usapan na ng politician and his donor. Di ba?
It's just like when he's asked about the endorsement of controversial blogger Mocha Uson.
Sa akin, kung sino nagsusupport, okay lang naman. I mean, ayoko na kasi mag-comment sa ibang tao.
Or, when pressed on the death penalty, he said in an interview on DZBB that he's against it, for now. Pwede raw balikan mamaya. In short, when pressed for a position, he always stays on the fence. And like Isko, the doctor from Manila is framing himself as an honest alternative to mainstream politicians.
Hindi kasi ako politiko, hindi ako nagsisik na sama tayo dito, tulong tayo. Gagawin lang natin yung maayos, na matino. Pag-endorse tayo, di salamat. Pag hindi, okay lang naman, di ba? Tuloy-tuloy lang tayo. Kasi tao naman talaga boboto.
One area where he has put his foot down is over the administration's war on drugs. He's been very clear about the need to address the country's drug problem as a health issue instead of a criminal one. If he were to become VP, he says the Philippines will rejoin the International Criminal Court, whose investigation of Duterte is still pending.
Yung criminal justice approach, minsan hindi yun ang pinakamaganda pag-solve ng war on drugs. Kailangan natin yung public health approach. Sakit po siya. So 98% are mga users, 2% lang ang pushers. So kailangan focus natin science-based, kailangan bawasan ng stigma. Hindi pwede yung ikukulong, tapos pagbalik, magiging addict sila ulit. At paparamihan yung psychologists, psychiatrists, at ililibre yung mga gamot dito.
One last curious thing. He's been sounding the alarm on the possibility of nuclear war, for many years now in fact. During a campaign sortie in Nueva Ecija, he warned the crowd it could happen soon, as the conflict between Russia and Ukraine rages on. And he repeated it during the COMELEC debates.
May chance magkaroon ng nuclear war at ang Pilipinas po, hindi po tayo ready sa nuclear radiation emergency preparedness. Ang ibang bansa handa na dyan. Kailangan tayo bumili ng potassium iodide. Ibang usapan dito. Itong lugar dito, hindi ito safe. Kailangan ka pa may fallout shelter. Kailangan prepared tayo just in case umabot tayo sa ganyang gera.
But actually, if you look through his YouTube videos, you'll see he and his wife have mentioned it a handful of times over the years. In fact, one 26-minute video from September 2017 was titled Nuclear Radiation Survival Tips. Why does he seem obsessed about nuclear war? Fact check muna. The US Centers for Disease Control is warning against the unprescribed use of potassium iodide. They say it can only help so much in the event of exposure to radiation. This isn't the first time Ong's remedy has been questioned. Yet in the face of enormous pressure, Isko Moreno has stayed loyal to his running mate.
Si Doc Willie knows it ahead of time na mayroong mga certain group. In fact, kausap pa yata siya na may magsusuporta na ganun daw ang pipiliin nila. Well, that's them. What matter most sa akin, Isko Doc Willie. Yun.
And Doc Willie Ong, on the biggest stage of his life, says he deserves your vote because no one else will look after your health like he does.
Ang goal ko lang ay humaba ang buhay ninyo. Yun lang po. Kasi ngayon, nakita natin, 2021, 800,000 Filipinos namatay. Heart disease, COVID, diabetes. Hindi ko masasabi magkakaroon pa ba ng pandemic surge? Kakailanganin niyo ako. Magkakaroon ba ng nuclear war? Kailangan ba natin tulungan yung kalusugan at iba pa?
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka. Again, I'm Franco Luna. This episode was edited by Presh Capistrano and produced by Kat Ventura. Keep an eye out for the next installment in our Pumapangalawang Pangulo series. Next up, it's Walden Bello. And of course, don't forget to follow Teka Teka and Puma Podcast wherever you listen. Thanks for listening.